Welcome to South Carolina's Haunted History. This list of 10 is part of a playlist of gentle listening spooky collections from across the USA. The screen fades to black so you can enjoy the stories without distractions if relaxing, studying or wanting to sleep. Please do consider a like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. First is the Grey Man of Pawleys Island. The Grey Man is a very strong South Carolina legend, with sightings and pictures of the spirit still being reported. He's a ghost who's seen before strong weather storms hit the area. The man, dressed all in grey, walks along the beach area warning of impending damage to property and life and appears only at those times. His story is that he was a man travelling to see his fiancée. Before he reached her, his horse sank into the mud on Pawleys Island and he died. His spirit is said to want to protect others who may travel along that route. Therefore, he's seen just before major damaging storms strike the coastline. He's been seen since 1822. Notably, there were sightings before Hurricane Florence struck in 2018, and also just before Hurricane Ian ripped through the area in 2022. He wears a long grey coat, a grey scarf, and even his shoes are the same grey colour. The best place to see him is on the pier or the beach nearby, just as a storm begins to move in. At number 2 is Oakwood Cemetery in Spartanburg. Unofficially known as Hell's Gate, the cemetery was chartered and opened in the late 1800s and has a peculiar twist. It's a place where anything electronic is very likely to have serious issues. A common experience for visitors is that cell phones will act strangely. They might ring and no one's there, or when answered the line will make the tone of a busy signal. The oddest of the phone problems can be that if answered, there will be someone on the line who is whispering very quietly. Full batteries are suddenly flattened to have no charge, and often a perfectly working camera will end up with corrupted video files or strange glitches in the footage. Such effects usually happen in what is called the old part of the cemetery, where people can also be overcome with dread. The old part does have a possible reason behind such problems. In 2012, satanic rituals were found to be taking place there and were shut down. Also, vandals desecrated a grave in that area and removed just the head and torso from a body. A month later, they returned with the head, throwing it back into the cemetery like it was trash. Third on the list is the Dock Street Theatre in Charleston. A lady in red and a man in 19th century clothing haunt the theatre, along with shadowy actors and long-dead audience members. One of the two regular ghosts is thought to be an actor who won't leave the stage. He's alleged to be the spirit of Junius Booth, the father of John Wilkes Booth, but there's no real link or confirmed ties to the theatre. However, the ghost in the red dress is better known and does have a strong backstory. She was Nellie Dickerson, a lady of the night, from when the building was the Planters Hotel. She'd visit the hotel regularly. The story goes that she wore a bright red dress on the night she died. She was walking across the balcony area during a fierce storm and was struck by a lightning bolt. No doubt she'd not seen the Grey Man. Her ghost still walks through the building in that red dress. She is also thought to be responsible for rattling doors and moving items around. And number 4 is the ghost of Alice Flagg in Waccamaw Cemetery. A specific person haunts the cemetery in Waccamaw with a good backstory for why she does so. Alice Flagg was a young woman who was raised within a wealthy family. She fell in love with someone who the family deemed not suitable for her, beneath her, and so sent her away to Charleston to forget about him. Unfortunately, she became ill while away and returned home, whereupon her guardian found her engagement ring on a ribbon around her neck. He ripped it from her and threw the ring into the nearby marsh. Alice continued to go downhill with her health, unfortunately, and died. She was buried in the Waccamaw Cemetery with a plain stone marker that just reads Alice. Her ghost is seen in her white burial dress near to the grave, and she's always seen searching the area for her lost ring. People leave gifts for her, especially small round things, as an appreciation of her looking for the ring. Halfway through the list we have the old Charleston City Jail. The building was constructed in 1802 and served as the county jail until 1939. Over the years, many prisoners did die there, leading to several ghosts. They include a young errand runner for the wardens who is accidentally shot, a madman warden whose keys jingle, and cries and moans from 19th century pirates, prostitutes, slaves, Civil War prisoners and thieves. Quite the collection. One of the most famous deaths was the first white woman to be hanged in South Carolina, Mrs. Lavinia Fisher, and her husband John. Now this is a doozy of a story. They were accused of murdering many of the travellers who stayed at their hotel. Local sheriff's reports included several disappearances of guests on their premises. Mrs. Fisher would invite such travellers to dinner. She'd steer the conversation to their occupation, and that would enable her to tell how wealthy the person was. Rich travellers would finish their meals and be sent upstairs to their room with a nice relaxing cup of tea. Yeah, not exactly a fresh cup of tea from a fresh normal tea bag. The tea was made from oleander leaves. Later that evening her husband John would check the room to see if the guest was dead yet, and if not, he'd help the process along. The Fishers would then bury the traveller in their basement and help themselves to their belongings. 2 would-be victims of the Fishers managed to escape, which is how the murdering couple were caught. Due to the seriousness and extent of their crimes, the Fishers were hanged in 1820. Mrs. Fisher's last words were, supposedly, "If you have a message you want to send to hell, give it to me and I'll carry it." Visitors still report sightings of her apparition. At number 6 is the Powder Magazine in Charleston. As one of the oldest buildings in South Carolina, it was originally built as an arsenal to defend the city. The Powder Magazine was retired from use in 1780, and since then the privately owned building has gone through many incarnations and changes, from being a print shop to a carriage house and then to a wine cellar. Currently, the Powder Magazine is an important museum where you can learn all about the colonial history of Charleston. But in addition to lots of artifacts and mementos from the colonial period especially, a number of ghosts haunt the place. There are reports of soldiers still guarding their posts, but also a celebrity spirit in the form of a female pirate named Anne Bonny, who is seen poking her head around from behind displays. She's been linked to other famous pirates, such as the flamboyant Calico Jack, and was a fierce pirate in her own right. Her fiery temper has been well documented, and her bravery and determination rivaled the men of her time. At spot number 7 is White Point Garden in Charleston. The area is known for pirates and battles, plus the odd legend. It's also known for sightings of the bodies of 29 pirates who were hanged there in the trees. Stede Bonnet and his men met their deaths by hanging in White Point. It was most certainly their own fault, because the king had previously given the group a full year to stop pirating and mend their ways. While Bonnet did apparently cut all ties with his pirating buddy Blackbeard in May of 1718, the band of pirates was captured later that year when they failed to blockade the nearby port. They were defeated by a group of local merchant ships. They were all tried, found guilty of, pirating, and quickly executed. Captain Bonnet himself did try to escape by dressing up as a woman, and he did escape, but was recaptured. After the hangings, the men's bodies were cut down and thrown into the marsh. Legend has it you can hear terrifying screams echoing at midnight. Also, if you stand near Water Street and look down, you might see the bloated white faces of the executed pirates staring back. At number 8 is the Greenville Embassy Suites Hotel in Greenville. It's a modern-looking brick building built around 1990 and quickly ran into ghostly troubles while it was being built. During construction, all work suddenly stopped for 2 years. Stories began while the hotel stood in limbo, half-built. So the story goes, the investors were staying on the grounds, but suddenly left and pulled their financial support. It's implied that some kind of haunting occurred that frightened them off. Local people would see lights on in the building, even though the electricity hadn't yet been switched on. Many were sure someone was living there, even though Greenville police would check to make sure the building was secure. One commenter on hauntedplaces.org, called Billy, recounted an event that he witnessed. Quote, "I worked at the Embassy Suites during construction. I find it odd that in the stories no one mentions the fact I saw it happen, that one of the workers fell to his death one Saturday morning, waiting for the boss to arrive. Me and a co-worker witnessed a man falling from the top of the building into the courtyard from 10 stories. I would think that would make a mention if the phantom lights do. Why not the worker who died?" End quote. Other reports of activity include lights turning off and on sporadically even now. Doors fly open on their own. There are 3 spots on the golf course where grass will not grow, and golfers have heard a wailing or moaning sound on the course. For number 9, we have a National Historic Landmark, the Old Exchange Building in Charleston, which was originally called the Exchange and Custom House. Construction began in 1767 and was completed in 1771. The British converted the building during the Revolutionary War to serve as barracks, and the basement became a military prison known as the Provost Dungeon. After the war, the building was converted back to being a hub for imports and exports. The building is a major part of the history of early colonists, with tales of visits by pirates such as Blackbeard and the gentleman pirate Stede Bonnet. It's also where the brutality of the slave trade was on show, with auctions held on the street outside. The old Provost Dungeon part was hidden underneath Charleston Street, and prisoners were chained to the walls in the dank space. Reports of activity include swinging chains in the dungeons, orbs, cold spots, doors that close on their own, disembodied voices, and ghostly footsteps. Finally, we have the South Carolina State Museum in Columbia. The museum is housed in what used to be a textile mill. There's a ghost there called, wait for it, Bubba, and is supposedly the spirit of a worker who was decapitated in an industrial elevator shaft. His apparition is seen wearing overalls and most often is spotted up on the 4th floor of the museum. Some people have claimed to ride in the elevator with him. He'll step into the elevator, ride along with other people, but when he exits, he walks down the hall and disappears into the wall. The freaky part to such encounters is that while he'll mostly be seen as a fully formed and fully visual person, he sometimes will glitch out, meaning only his boots and bits of his legs are seen. Thank you for joining me on this little journey. From hotels with flickering lights to glitching ghosts, the Palmetto State has some great tales and locations for spooky experiences. I hope you'll be here for the next one, South Dakota.